My name is Rob Carpenter. I'm co-chairman of the company along with Craig Roberts. I'm also a geologist, so I have a bit of a non-traditional chairman role at Prospector. I'm active in the company. I'm involved in the project generation, the day-to-day geology, as well as the corporate affairs and the money raising. So it's a bit of a non-traditional role, having a chairman deeply involved in the company. But my bread and butter is being a geologist and doing exploration, so it's a really nice fit with our team. Prospector is engaged in a very simple business model. We're early stage explorers trying to find a discovery which we can sell. And before I launch into the deck, I made a couple little notes here off script about why you should be thinking about Prospector or why you're thinking about early stage companies. And it kind of migrated into this sort of flow sheet here I put together. And it's kind of like when you're looking to invest in a company, any company really, you look at three things. You look at the people, the projects, and the corporate structure. And I'm going to just elaborate on those three key points here before I get into the deck, and I'll probably run late, and Taylor will probably kick me off, but that'll be fine. On the people front, you need to have capable management and money raisers, and on the and experience. And what we're trying to do with Prospector is essentially what we've already done before. In 2005, I started a company called Carpenter Gold Corporation, and our business model was the same as Prospector. It was simply acquire an early stage project, drill it, and make a discovery and sell it. And our core asset that we found was in the Yukon, and we sold it to Newmont for over $500 million. So we've reassembled the group, put the band back together, as you might say. So many of the same geologists and corporate people, and we're essentially trying to replicate that model. So we've done it before, and we're looking to do it again. We're also big share owners. I own about 3 million shares in this company. I've bought them, as our technical team and our management are also shareholders. There's no consultants in this company that are working arm's length. Everybody wakes up in the morning and puts on their Prospector Metals pants. I spend about 90% of my time on the company. I don't have 5 different deals. I'm not promoting a dozen different things. And I think that's important. That's what investors want. You guys want to know that if you're going to buy the stock, that I actually care about it myself. So I just want to reiterate that the people here is our fundamental key asset and the dedication to the business model. Corporate structure. We're sitting with about $2.5 million in cash and liquid assets right now, and I think that sets us apart. They're hard dollars, but that's so be it. We're not out spending like drunken sailors now. We know we're austeric. I haven't taken a salary in 6 months. We're waiting for the market to turn around. But we've got a very tight corporate structure. We've raised money with key people that we want to be as long-term shareholders. Very similar shareholder registry to our previous company, Carpenter. Eric Sprott's a big shareholder. Crescat Capital's a big shareholder. Quentin Hennig. So we have folks on our register that understand what we're doing, have the patience, and also have the capital to help us when we need it. On the project, well, we're trying to make life easy on ourselves. We know what do the majors want. They're the inevitable buyer of our product. Well, they want large land positions. They want district scale opportunities. They want organic discoveries. They want good metallurgy. They want you to have started really good First Nation relations. All of those things. And what you want as the shareholders, you want us to have 100% exposure to the project. So this is why we stake things or we acquire things through prospectors at 100% level. We have a variety of projects. Not all are created equal. You could look at our deck and you might see 15 different projects and you might say, well, where's your focus? What are you doing? Well, not all projects are the same. Some of them are Tier 2 projects. We're not afraid to joint venture projects we don't think meet our Tier 1 criteria. So just because we have a large portfolio of projects doesn't mean they all get spent on. At the moment, our Tier 1 projects are drill ready. So we don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in geophysics or prospecting. We've actually got them drill ready. And when the market turns around, we'll be ready to execute. Projects are in Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland, pretty bread and butter jurisdictions as far as political risk. Commodities, off-the-shelf, bread and butter commodities, gold, nickel, copper, zinc. Many of the commodities that our technical team have the ability and the track record in discovering. So I am going to run late because now I'm already 10 minutes in and I haven't started the deck. So I will, if you have any questions, please go to our website. The deck is there. I'm going to be around for the rest of the day. I'm doing some one-on-ones, but if you did want to have a chat anytime, give us a shout. Disclaimer, we take our disclosure seriously. And if you have any questions on how we present our technical information or any of our corporate information, have a look through our MD&A on our website or our financial documents and let us know if you have any questions. I mentioned a little bit on the capital structure, largely retail, 60 million shares outstanding, over 2 million in cash and securities. We're part of the Discovery Group of companies, which is an umbrella group that shares similar shareholder bases and similar founders. Kamenak, our earlier company, was one of the founding members of the Discovery Group. Some other companies you might recognize that came through Discovery Group would be Great Bear Resources, Northern Empire, a track record of discovery and monetizing for shareholders. Yeah, so, we're primarily Canadian Shield people. And in Canadian Shield, you find gold, copper, nickel together. And our technical team that we've assembled, that largely, I was thinking the other day, of all of our geologists, I've known them, every one, for at least 20 years. So, we know each other pretty well. They're very good at evaluating opportunities. And, essentially, when we look at a project, we try to, reverse engineer it, if you will. We look at the end zone first. We don't acquire a project if we don't see some of the steps, right? We'll engage with First Nations before we acquire a project to find out, where they stand. We'll look at the metallurgy. We'll look at, the actual sort of geological model for the potential to find a big discovery. Our major's interested in this area. We talk quite regularly with our peer group at, the major companies to find out what they're looking for. Why find something and spend money on something that no one's going to want? So we try to reverse engineer it, and by the time we acquire a project, we've already de-risked it on various levels, geologically and as well corporately. But the number one thing we think about a project is it financeable, right? We go to Dave Tablet, we go to Taylor, we say, hey, this is our project, this is our plan, this is what we want to do, can we raise money on this? And there's no sense acquiring a project and issuing shares and putting out news releases if you can't finance it. And I think that's another thing that I think sets our team apart, is not only our ability to finance, but our ability to recognize what is financeable and what is not financeable. I mentioned our team. I'm a geologist. Some of our other members, Craig Roberts, co-chairman, is a very close friend. He was an investment banker at PI Financial in Vancouver prior to this. Alex Heath is our CFO and our CEO. Alex has a financial and a business acumen background. And why is that important? Well, most junior companies, their CFO is an afterthought. Basically, you throw a calculator at a geologist and say, hey, you're now the CFO. But having a CFO that actually understands business acumen is a tremendous asset. When we look at acquiring a project or financing a project, Alex will get out a spreadsheet and say, here's a post-cash pro forma. This is what this company would look like if we do A, B, C, and D. And this is where we expect our share price to be if we hit these milestones. So forward planning, not only technically, but corporately. Right? If we make a discovery, how much money is it going to take to do it, and what's the likely share price going to be, and is it worth it? And Alex has a tremendous background on that, and I wouldn't, just because he's not a geologist or not IR, he's definitely one of the core assets of our team. You might recognize some of these characters and some of these geologists. Jody Gibson, close friend, he made the discovery at the White Gold Project in Yukon. Joe Price, our VP Exploration, she was involved in many gold discoveries at Committee Bay in Nunavut. Bob Brzdowski and I, we worked at Western Mining together back in the late 90s on the global nickel team. There's no one better at assessing opportunities quickly. Grant Lockhart is a geophysicist. We have a geophysicist on staff. He's a very humble guy, but, he basically found most of those kimberlite pipes that Chuck Fipke gets credit for, but you'd never know it because he doesn't really talk about himself that much. So really good team, really solid technical background. Couldn't say enough about him. So Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland, and a couple properties in British Columbia. The focus is primarily Ontario and Quebec. We have a drill program in Newfoundland this summer on our property called Too Good. And we drilled VG in 15 out of 19 holes and put together what I thought was a tremendous gold zone, and our stock went down. So, we were trading, the last money raise we did was at 75 cents. We're trading at 14 right now. But because we have over $2 million in cash and securities, we're not financing. And that's the message we're getting from our shareholders. They don't want us to finance right now. They don't want us to give away the company, raise $2 million and issue, 30% increase your dilution by 30%. They don't want that. So we're very acutely aware of, if we're going to go and do, and do a project somewhere right now and get boots on the ground, it has to be cost effective. So, it's important to recognize that we do have the cash in the bank, and we're not in a financing. Sorry, Taylor, we're not financing right now, and we're not doing these heavily dilutive transactions. Has to be accretive. We're also looking for new projects. There's a lot of bottom feeding. We're looking at things in northern Canada that already have established resources that are trading rock bottom for various reasons. But again, if it's not accretive and we can't reverse engineer it and finance it, we wouldn't do it. So I've got 2 minutes and 49 seconds left. I'll just briefly give you a reason why we acquired these projects, and if you want to, we can nerd out later and talk about the rocks. Whitten Lake, this is about 20 kilometers away from Lac des Îles, platinum palladium mine in northern Ontario. We staked this. It was on open ground, believe it or not. There's anecdotal evidence for nickel mineralization from the 1970s. And we found that unreported nickel mineralization in outcrop this summer, and we flew VTEM, which is an airborne geophysical survey, and we have drill targets ready to go, indicative of massive sulfide. So this is again something that's right by a road, right by power, drill ready. High grade nickel is the target here. So Voisey's Bay type or Tamarack type mineralization. I'll skip over the details. Manitou and Nipissau in Quebec and the Grenville. This is an area that Bob Brzdowski and I worked on in Western Mining in the late 90s, if you can believe it. And we acquired these properties with Kamenak, our old company, and we did geophysics on them, and they were drill ready. But unfortunate for these projects, but fortunately for shareholders, we went to the Yukon and made a discovery, and these projects got orphaned. Newmont took over, Goldcorp took over Kamenak, and these projects were left to lapse, and we restaked them, and again, they're now drill ready. I will skip ahead to one of our gold projects that I really want to share with you, Savant Lake. So this is in northern Ontario, and it's an iron formation hosted gold deposit. There's many examples of these in Nunavut and Northwest Territories, the Lupin Mine, the Meliadine Mine, Meadowbank Mine. But the only real good example in Ontario is Musselwhite. And that's a 5 million plus ounce deposit that Newmont claims to hate but keeps chugging out cash flow regularly. I was lucky enough to work at the Meliadine deposits back before Agnico bought them, and I did my PhD on those rocks. And when I looked at the Savant project, I saw a lot of geological similarities and gross geologic controls that we saw at Meliadine. So we acquired it. And there's many high-grade showings on the property that are traditional iron formation that had been drilled and that were very narrow. But we went in and prospected areas, believe it or not, in some of these new structural corridors that we developed and we found 30, 60, 90 grams per ton gold occurrences in bedrock, previously unknown, less than 500 meters from a road. So again, we've proved our concept here, gone in, looked at these rocks differently, applied a different model, and found evidence for terrific mineralization that is not only drill ready, but is permitted as well. And I think that's important. All of our drill ready projects are fully permitted and are ready to go. I'm over by 22 seconds, so I have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Savant. It's an interesting project. I thought you were going to kick me out, so I will go back to discuss Too Good. So in Newfoundland, we have a project. This is the one we drilled this past summer. What's interesting is it's similar to the district in northeastern Newfoundland, like Newfound Gold, etc. But what we found was there was a particular geological control on this mineralization that was absent in others, and it's association with this felsic dike. And the gold, whenever you see this felsic dike, you always get gold in it. And so when we drilled our holes and we got our mineralization, we went back and sent our guys in the field and say, hey, see this gray rock here that we were drilling? Go find more of it. And within 2 weeks, there was another 24 occurrences of this felsic rock that had been unknown, and most of those prospects there was visible gold found in outcrop as well. Now, again, we think this project has a lot of potential. The existing drilling proves the system is real. The new occurrences of visible gold that are undrilled, but again, the market doesn't really care about it. We announced our results. Stock went from 40 cents to 20 cents. So again, this is another drill-ready project. Is it a Tier 1 project? Yes, of course it is. What would be our other Tier 1 projects? Savant that I mentioned, Witten, our nickel project, and then Taylor's sitting here saying, well, that sounds like a lot of money you're going to need for that, Rob. How can I help you? And he's right. But again, this is where we would employ the joint venture model to use other people's money or partnerships. Where we've got CAs on most of these projects with majors, mid-tiers, and juniors who are looking for drill-ready projects at discovery stage. So, again, even though we have a lot of projects and we have a lot of things that we think are, Tier 1, it doesn't mean we're going to blow our brains out and blow our corporate structure out.